Wait, remember Grossology? Yet another overlooked gem of Canadian television. Grossology was the holy grail of fart jokes, a real goldmine, if you will. Also known as Glurp Attack, this series is like if you mixed Kim Possible with a porta potty. It'll make sense soon, trust me. Each episode starts with a horrifically stinky crime being committed. Following the super epic intro, Ty and Abby are given their mission. The series follows siblings Abby and Ty Archer, two high school students who double as a grime-fighting duo for the Bureau of Grossology, BOG for short. With the help of their genius chemist lab rat, who serves the role of the helpful guy in the chair, and in addition to lab rat Ty and Abby, the fourth member of the Bureau is the director, a squeamish Hermie the Elf-looking man, whose main purpose is to give them missions and take credit for their work. Throughout the series, we are introduced to a myriad of villains who all have their own unique powers of the yucky variety, and we get to see how a lot of the yucky things that Ty and Abby are fighting against are actually scientifically explained. If you enjoy the video, you better subscribe. I've been preparing for a while for this episode. As you can tell, I haven't showered in 3 weeks to make sure that I'm on theme for recording this one for y'all. And I trust that you all have done the same. Nah, seriously, I can smell you all from here. Disgusting, nauseating. I appreciate it.
Huh? Oh, got it.
Welcome back to the 25 Days of Fringe-Miss, where there's going to be brand new videos every single day from December 1st to December 25th. Hop aboard. Based loosely on the non-fictional book series under the same name by Sylvia Brandsey, Grossology sticks well to her main intentions of teaching kids. The idea for the concept of her Grossology books came to her when she was cleaning and clipping her toenails and was musing about what made up the gunk behind her toenails. At that moment, she had a revelation. The main thing that really interested kids was the gross and taboo things in life. When kids are turned away from something, they tend to want to know more, being curious and all. She had an idea to create a series of books that fused both her love of teaching junior high schoolers and their love of bizarre bodily functions like snot and vomit and all that stuff. Published in 1992, the book was a smashing success and sold more than 500,000 copies by 2004. As the years went by, so did the Grossology collection. More and more books were published, including Animal Grossology, Hands-On Grossology, Grossology Begins at Home, and Grossology in You. As she grew her empire of she started to notice a shift in the kids who had previously hated science. They were starting to really enjoy learning. The main draw to creating an animated kid show was most likely that, to teach kids things through a method that has proven to be incredibly engaging. The Grossology brand was desirable to Nelvana because of its overarching theme that was already established. It also hadn't been done before. Sure, fart jokes and poop puns can be used and sometimes abused in kids' media, but this show was truly the first where you had a scientific reason to make jokes like that. And what's better than a poop joke? A tasteful poop joke. Classy.
Fascinating.
I know.
Grossology will be back in real tunes. Grossology is back in real tunes.
In 2005, Canadian-based distributor Nelvana signed a US deal for Grossology, which was picked up for 26 episodes by Discovery Kids. It was initially set to premiere on the NBC Saturday morning block as well as the Discovery Kids 24-hour digital channels. The series premiered in Canada on YTV September 29, 2006, and continued to air after that in other countries and on other channels like Discovery Kids, Jetix, Pop Max, and ABC. Sylvia is given writing credits, but she really let the writers take liberties with the plot-driven stories that the series told. Because the books didn't have a specific narrative of its own, Sylvia mainly concerned herself with making sure that the series was scientifically correct. She also made sure that the science aspect of the series continued to be an important part of the show. While developing the animated series, Nelvana basically started with a blank slate and one concept, Grossology. The rest was open for development, so they were drawn to the classic and very popular genres of action and comedy. Producer Michael Dexter Lexi says that the style of the show was a reflection of both the time as well as the talents and tastes of the production team. And this makes sense, with spy and secret agent shows popularized in the early 2000s to the tune of Totally Spies, Kim Possible, Agent Cody Banks, Spy Kids, obviously, and so many more. This concept of young adults balancing their world-saving antics with their social life has always been in style, but the early 2000s was a whole new kind of spy trend. So yes, a product of its time is definitely how I would describe Grossology. The series protagonists are the Archer siblings, Abby and Ty. Abby is voiced by Crystal Meadows and is the oldest sibling. She has long red hair that is literally as tall as she is. And as someone with kinda long hair, I just get so frustrated for the way that she's going on missions and letting it just drag on the ground and it gets all gross and things step in it. Have you heard of a bun? Pigtails? Something? Almost gives me a heart attack every time. Despite her hairstyle choices, she serves as a really good protagonist, being a perfectionist. She's responsible and school, but also is incredibly empathetic, which helps her with her job working for the Bureau of Grossology. She is very confident in herself and doesn't hesitate to speak her mind, which can fuel her rivalry at school with her arch nemesis, Paige Logan. She has a love for all things disgusting and is not squeamish in any way, but she also has an appreciation for cute things as well. You can say Abby is quite well-rounded, minus the hair thing, still gross. Her infatuation with repulsive things is a trait that she shares with her brother. Ty is voiced by Michael D. Cohen and is similar to his older sister. Despite being younger, Ty doesn't seem to be immature at all and seems to take his job extremely seriously. He is just as competitive as his sister, but doesn't too often get caught up in trying to outdo Abby, luckily. Meaning their ability to operate as a team is pretty impressive. Considering their siblings, I don't want to call this series unrealistic, but come on. Sure, they do have their sibling-esque moments, but I guess it was nice to see a bit of mold breaking here for the relationship in the series. In an origin story episode towards the end of the series, we find out how the two of them got their job working at the Bureau in the first place. The two of them were scouted by the director after a cave-in left their tour group stuck in a bat cave, with the only exit being blocked by a huge mound of bat feces. The two are not deterred like the rest of the group, in fact they're kind of lured into it. So they climb the mountain and make it out, catching the eye of the Grossology director. They are immediately recruited, brought to the gag lab where they meet Lab Rat and are trained to work in the field. It's a pretty mild origin story that isn't really important to understanding their characters, so I'm pretty convinced that this was something that was established afterwards. Lab Rat is voiced by Devin Christian Mack. With one exception, we only ever see him in the gag lab, due to his agoraphobia. This gives him an actual reason to be the guy in the chair and not just kind of put there like in Kim Possible for Wade. But I guess it's good that he's always in the lab because he does help Ty and Abby a lot to have him accessible when they're in the middle of a fight or investigation. He also has a pet rat named Hermes that he is incredibly close with. The fourth and final member of the Bureau is the director, voiced by Paul O'Sullivan, who is a pretty serious little guy, and weirdly enough, doesn't love gross things. My brother in grossness, I think you're in the wrong profession. Despite being the person in the most powerful position at the Bureau, he's pretty useless. He is also constantly going on and on about how Abby and Ty's successes is thanks to him, but Abby and Ty are aware that all he does is sit in his big chair in his little suit being useless. But I shouldn't be that hard on him, because on some occasions he has gone into the field where the mission calls for it. He's a good comedic relief because just look at that hairline. It's fantastic. Outside of working on missions for the Bureau, Ty and Abby must also balance their social situations at school. Ringworm Junior High. Main conflicts for Abby can be found with her arch nemesis, Paige, who is the exact opposite of her, squeamish and selfish. They compete in basically everything from boys to status at school. They're kind of obsessed with each other. Ty, on the other hand, is busy at school with his crush and eventual girlfriend, Naomi. She's a pretty shy girl and we don't really get to know her that well, but nevertheless, Ty has W-Riz.
Wait! What is it? Stop!
Grossology will be back in real tunes. Grossology is back in real tunes.
The villains are most of the fun in the series, and there are so many of them. We got Insectiva, who is an insect rights activist who went a little too far with her love of insects. The Scab Fairy, who is a former beauty queen who used her knowledge of dermatology to scab up those she deems as pretty. We have Lance Boyle, the ex-grossologist who tried to take over the bureau and shrank part of himself in the attempted coup, turning himself into a boil. There's also Sloppy Joe, who is just a stinky guy who uses his stench to commit crimes. He actually has a bit of a fling with Insectiva, and the two of them together make up the cutest Discord couple out there. There are dozens of more villains that appear multiple times in the series, and each one is more creative and stomach-turning than the last. The main theme of the series is, for me, what really made the series extra memorable. It's jazzy, it's sharp, it's sleek, it's everything Bond and all things Incredibles. And they must have known how formative the theme would be for the audience because they used it every chance they got. And I'm actually not mad about it. And they also incorporate the title sequence into the series itself when the siblings have a costume change into their slime suits. The animation for the series is very visually similar to other Canadian shows like 16 and Stoked. Flash animation gets a lot of heat sometimes because some may describe it as boring or visually uninspired. But when the production team paired with the artistic and geometric opening sequence with the already geometric Flash art style, magic was made. Suddenly it became that much more visually interesting to watch. The styles eclectically thrown together really elevated the viewing experience, only to be knocked back down because now I gotta watch this police officer get a colonoscopy. Actually, no, that scene is easily in my top 10 most epic cartoon moments. The series performed well critically as it sports 8 award nominations, many of which are for the score of the series or for the writing. And those who watched Grossology genuinely have fond memories surrounding the series, so despite its popularity, why did it not continue past 2 seasons? The final episode of Grossology aired on October 24th, 2009, with a total of 52 episodes combined from both its seasons. Producer of Grossology, Michael Dexy, was kind enough to shed some light on why the series didn't continue when we reached out to him. He attributes it to a lack of publicity given by Discovery in the United States. He says the performance was fine, but less than a hit, so Discovery's interest waned. The reason of Grossology not being renewed was simply that Nelvana was not looking to invest into more episodes by themselves. But still, 52 episodes isn't anything to sneeze at, because that would be gross. Despite it being buried by Discovery, the series saw light again when reruns were aired in 2021 as a part of Canadian Children's Media Day, so the show hasn't totally been forgotten. I'd actually like to thank the producer of Grossology, Michael Dexy, again for being so open to answering some of my questions in regards to the series. There really isn't a lot of information online about this show to dig into beyond the show itself, so hopefully I'm able to contribute some valuable information to fellow Grossology lovers out there. I personally enjoyed the series, if you couldn't tell. I think there is a balance that needs to be had when you deal with gross out humor, and this show never went too far into the grossness without giving you the action, the espionage, school drama, and a surprisingly visually pleasant color palette. Okay, I'm done now, so for the love of all that is holy, please go bathe right now. I'm begging you. Also tell me your thoughts on Grossology in the comments, but still, go bathe. In the words of Raven Baxter.
You nasty.
Thanks so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Later.